Hello everyone and welcome to the round 2 DaBoyz Golden Sprue GT live stream. If you joined us earlier, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And for those of you that are joining us new, welcome to round 2. Hopefully you enjoy the show. Going into this round, we've got a new pair of armies. Both of these players won their round 1. So both of them looking to keep on with the momentum and continue on in the tournament with an undefeated record here. But players are beginning their setup now, getting ready for the game, talking through their armies and the scenario. But on the bottom side, updating the screen here in a moment, but we have Oscar Sebastio, who is running the OCR Bone Reapers, Mortis Praetorians, and then Ray Squires on the opposite end, who is running Slaves to Darkness. We'll give the players both just a minute to get cracking here, and then we'll get on with the commentary as folks trickle in. Both players continuing to talk through their list here, which I will get into in just a moment. The battle plan for this round is going to be limited resources. It's a super interesting scenario that rewards patient play and only taking unmuted? What you need. We are unmuted if you want to say hi.
Sean, you're the best. We really like you, and I hope you feel better.
Why did you say like it was a dirty word?
Because I didn't want to say love because I was embarrassed.
Oh goodness. All right. Jumping into the list here as the players are getting set, I'm going to start off with Oscar's pretty interesting Mortis Praetorians list. A lot of MSU units here, 2 bowling balls, an Arkin and Catacross. So getting the ball rolling here, Oscar is running the OCR Bone Reapers, which is a very cool faction of basically skeleton Spartans. Can't get much cooler than that. He's playing the sub-faction Mortis Praetorians, which is going to allow him to make a counter charge if one of his units is charged and another unit is out of combat and within 12 inches. So he'll be utilizing that with his unit of Death Riders, some Morghasts, which are flying skeleton angels of death, and some Mortis Guard to multi-engage his opponent's units and prioritize killing things as they come. Moving on from there, the OCR Bone Reapers are a very command-efficient army. In Oscar's list, because he has 7 or more units, he is receiving an additional 6 command points that he can utilize to issue as many commands as possible throughout his turn. So he'll be winning the command point race here against his opponent. OCR Bone Reapers have the unique ability where they can issue commands from their lore, well, not lore, but from their book, as many times as they would like within a phase, but still only 1 command per unit. This allows him to do things like give multiple units +3 to move, or give multiple units an additional pip of rend. There's a lot of utility that he can do with this, and so we're going to see him take advantage of that to arrive at a point where his units are simply more efficient in combat than his opponents at base. That being said, moving into some of his leaders, he is bringing Arkin the Black, who is a Mortarch of Nagash, the Lord of Death, and he is a wonderfully powerful wizard. He is a 3-caster wizard with +2 to cast at his top bracket. It will degrade as he takes damage, but that being said, the cool thing from Arkin is that he is extending the spell range of OCR Bone Reaper's units that are within, I believe, 12 inches of him, 6 inches, which is going to allow Oscar to really dominate the battlefield with some very strong debuffs, and also some combat buffs as well. Things like Mystic Shield, won't be extended, but he'll stack that and then he'll debuff the enemy, place his units in combat, and then the combination of buffs plus the debuffs that he will be flinging out from far away onto his opponent's units are going to allow him to tear through a lot of stuff at close range. Notably, this is a list with no shooting. Last round, we spent a lot of time looking at Dan Riker's Lumineth Realm Lords and the Kangaroos, and Teclis and Ionis were laying lots of shots into the Cruel Boys, which was a melee-focused Cruel Boys unit. Or list rather, so not a lot of shots coming down from there, but this is going to be different. This is a combat game. Oscar is going to get in to raise units, he's going to buff them, and he's going to do as much damage as he possibly can. Here on my side, we have our loving tournament organizer, Josh Keel, who's keeping me company and has been supplying me with drinks during the event, which is great. And sex on the beach, specifically, yes. Not specifically sex, but he has supplied me with sex on the beach. And he has prevented any sand from getting on the keyboard, which is much appreciated as well. That being said, continuing to move through Oscar's list here, we have Catacross, who is a 500-point bowling ball of a unit, 20 wounds, 3-up save, an absolute truck. But not only is he incredibly tanky, but he is also a very powerful support piece. At the start of the hero phase, he is issuing a -1 to hit to a unit that is visible. He also can issue a free command each round. He steals a command point from the opponent on a 5-up when they receive their start of round command points. And he has a 24-inch command for a +1 to hit, save, or +1 attacks, allowing Oscar to give effectively his entire army the benefit of a Mystic Shield, or even just buff them in combat further, or exponentially increase their output when he needs weight of dice. Truly one of the support pieces of all time, and I say that jokingly, it really is a monumental piece and a linchpin of this army, allowing Oscar to buff a myriad of units, and the amount of buffs that he can just put out there, not even just like the quantity, but the quality of them, allows him to adapt to many different situations on board. He's also got a pair of casters in the Antorian Acolytes battalion, which is going to give him a 3+ for an additional primal dice. We talked a little bit about his casting potential before, but this is going to allow Oscar to give himself additional bonuses to his casts. And then between those two casters, he has the Mortison Bone Shaper, who has the Aura Sterility command trait. He is that's going to apply a -1 to hit end wound for units wholly within 12 inches that are the target of missile weapon attacks. This is going to brace Oscar for shooting. It won't be super relevant in this matchup due to how combat focused his opponent's army is. But definitely a command trait to watch out for in a number of matchups. But the Bone Shaper also has the Empowered Naderite Weapons spell, which is going to promote his Naderite weapons to 5+ mortal wounds, as opposed to doing them on 6+, similar to what the Shaman was doing for the Crowboy models last round, but in this case on a spell rather than an ability, so it's interactable. That being said, it's a 5 cast with a 24-inch range due to Arkin's ability that promotes cast wholly within 12, so he's going to be able to push out these 5+s for mortal wounds and buff his damage a substantial bit. Lastly, rounding out the casters, we have the Mortison Ossifactor, who is carrying the Dothazar Cartouche, which wholly within 9 inches is going to give a +1 to wound in melee for units within that bubble. So he's going to use this to augment his damage in combat, keep that caster hugging his melee units. Moving along now with a little more, in a little more of a brief fashion, running through the battle line units. We have the Death Riders, which have a 6-inch pile-in on a successful charge, and they do 5+ mortal wounds on the charge, based with dice rolls equal to the charge roll. And then a single unit of Morghast Archai, which stop the issuing of commands within 3 inches, and on an 8-up charge, gain Strike First in combat, which is insane value and great activation control. And lastly, have a 5++ ward within 12 inches of a hero, which is quite a lot of value. Recently, we've seen these units become incredibly popular. An 8 Morghast list has been sort of the go-to, popularized by Tom Guan in the past few months. Although traditionally those Morghast, the 8 of them, are played in a null myriad shell to protect them, because the Morghasts are 6-wound units. They are not able to be recurred. We'll talk a little bit later about the OCR Bone Reaper recursion mechanics and why those are so powerful. Lastly, Oscar rounds out his list with 2 MSU units of Immortus Guard. These are powerful units that can fight twice on a command, although they strike last on the second swing, but they're relatively sturdy. They're often getting through the bulk of their damage again on the second crack at a unit as well, which is very strong. Lastly, we have the Bone-Tied Nexus, which is Oscar's fairly large terrain piece. It has a myriad of abilities. He'll roll a single die, and he can trigger these abilities within an 18-inch range. You can do D3 Mortals, -1 to hit, -3 to charges, -1 to cast or prey. There's a lot of value packed up in this terrain piece. I'm going to jump into Ray's list in just a moment, but just going to jump over to the table really quick to assist the players with a rules question. All right, getting back to the list here. So on the opposite end of the table, we have Ray Squires. Ray is one of our local players and repeat face on the DaBoyz stream. Actually, I played Ray just a year ago. I believe it was round 2 on the Golden Sprue stream. It was Gargans against Slaves to Darkness. So Ray, still piloting the same army. He's been running Slaves for probably about a year and a half now. Fairly experienced with the army, definitely a big fan of everything that it has to offer. Ray used to be a Khorne player, and he has shifted his focus within Chaos to play the Slaves to Darkness for the long run. He's been really enjoying it. Ray's army all very nicely hobbied. He has a very sweet display board with lava pools and LEDs underneath. Definitely an awesome bit of hobby. Excited to see it on the table here. But getting into the list itself, Ray is playing Slaves to Darkness in the Kabbalist sub-faction. One moment. Our incredibly courteous players just making sure we can see the dice tray. That being said, proceeding on with the Kabbalist list, Kabbalist sub-faction is going to give Ray a extra spell on all of his casters. Any non-caster heroes are going to receive a spell and become casters. And in addition, he has a heroic action that allows him to make a 3d6 cast. But in this faction, when he does that, his other casters that are within 3 inches of the unit that performs the heroic action are also going to gain the benefit of that 3d6 cast on the spell. So a lot of value there packed into a heroic action. But moving on into the list itself, I'm going to start with Ray's battle line. I'm going to flip this here, and we're going to work our way back to the heroes because there's a lot to unpack here. But that being said, Ray has 2 key hammers in this army. First is a unit of 6 Varangard. These are incredibly punchy. I cannot understate the damage that a unit of 6 Varangard can put out. This unit fights twice, but it's on an ability. And notably on the second fight, they don't have fight last. So you can activate, they'll go to your opponent, they'll activate, and then immediately when you come back, you can go with the Varangard another time. It's just an activation. That's really big. It's really big. It's different than the Chosen, who when they fight twice, they strike last. So, power to the Varangard there, but they're tanky, 5 wounds, 3 up save. He has 6 of them armed with Fell Spear, so they are at +1 rend and wound on the charge. So these units, when they charge in, are absolutely going to gore what they connect with on average.
Sigmar and Legion. When you're done with your round,
moving on to that, or from that, he has the Mark of Chaos for Khorne on this unit. The Mark of Khorne is going to give him +1 to attacks on the charge, so as Ray is able to push these Varangard into his opponent's units, they're going to have additional attacks, in addition to being able to fight twice. So he's going to get double value from that buff, which is insane value. He's going to double the value of the +1 rend and wound on charge. So definitely quite the hammer. On the other hand, he also has the Chaos Chosen. This unit's not quite as fast as the Vanguard, not a cavalry unit, but it can also fight twice. Also on an ability, it does strike last on the second activation. But this unit has the Mark of Chaos Slanesh, so with a command ability that is issued by one of his heroes that we'll get to later that has the Slanesh mark, he'll be able to run and charge with this unit, making them a lot quicker than they appear at base. They pour out lots of attacks. They can do mortals, tanky, 3-up saves, 3 wounds a pop if I recall correctly, solid hammer, sizable unit, good size footprint. They're going to do some damage. Moving on from there, Ray has 2 units of Untamed Beast. These are little cheap screen units that he's going to probably use to secure some battle tactics and rescreen afterwards. But the 2 of them are just 2 80-point units, minuscule cost in this list for the utility I'm about to explain. But free movement pre-game, they run and charge, they benefit from the Mark of the Chaos Lord. In this case, they're -1 to be wounded by melee weapons because of the Mark of Nurgle, which is also really good. Generally, they're not going to survive in combat anyway, but I mean, the -1 could be the difference maker that leaves some Untamed Beasts on the board and locks a key unit into combat over a second turn, so definitely worth noting there. He also has a 20 brick of Chaos Warriors. 2 wounds, 3-up save. There's going to be a brick of 40 wounds on a 3-up save. They have a additional ward against mortal wounds, which is insane value. And then not only does he have the Mark of Chaos Nurgle to give -1 to wound in combat, but he also has the eroding icon in the unit. So attacks into this unit will have -1 rend. So between that, potentially maybe a Mystic Shield down the line, and all-out defense, this unit is going to be difficult to remove. It is 20 bodies, they have a solid wound density. They're not the punchiest, but they are going to find somewhere to sit, and they are going to sit there for a long time. Moving on to the Corvus Cabal. This is another 80-point cheapy screen unit. It's a deep strike unit, so Ray can put it off the table, start of game, and at the end of movement anywhere on the board, they'll pop out, and generally within cover because they're not visible while they're in cover. So definitely a tremendous utility piece that Ray is going to be looking to leverage to get into one of the objectives somewhere on the board. I think that's a unit, if played carefully, can be really key on a battle plan like this, where tapping into objectives continuously causes you to overdraw them and not be able to score points on them in later turns. So definitely a unit to watch out for. We'll see how Ray employs them here. Also, pretty stable option for him to secure a battle tactic, deep striking them on board edge, maybe calling a surround and destroy, helping him get a couple other tactics over the course of the game as well, including intimidate the invaders, pushing units outside his territory. That being said, we're going to move back now to the heroes from the battle line. And there's a bit to unpack here. Ray only has 3 heroes, but they've got a fair bit of equipment, not only due to the Kabbalist sub-faction, but also due to some of the equipment and the Marks of Chaos that he's packed them with. For starters, his general is the Chaos Lord. So the command trait is Idolator Lord, which is going to allow the Chaos Lord to pray. He has taken the Heal Prayer, so he can give some of his tankier units a little bit of extra HP over the long run. But then going on from there, he also has the Mark of Chaos Nurgle on this. Because he has Idolator Lord, the Cultist units also gain that mark, which is why I had mentioned earlier that the Untamed Beasts are benefiting from the Mark of Nurgle as well. And he also has the spell Chaotic Conduit, which we're going to come back to in a little bit. I want to talk about the Sorcerer Lords. Ray's got a pair of these, and they provide a fair bit of utility. One of which has got the Mark of Chaos Tzeentch, the other has got the Mark of Chaos Slanesh. But the one with the Tzeentch mark is carrying Merciless Blizzard, which you talked a little bit about earlier. It's just an absolute machine gun of a spell. Pumping out 4d6 mortal wounds potentially is humongous in the context of this format. I think in some ways it has racked the brain of many a player how to navigate moving around this 12-inch bubble of death that a wizard carrying Merciless Blizzard appears to project. That being said, Ray also is carrying the Warp Reality spell on the Mark of Tzeentch, Chaos Lord. This allows him to target a unit that has the same mark and teleport within 9 inches of the caster and away from the enemy. We'll come back to some of that utility that he can generate there as well. That spell's an interesting piece. One bit I will note that if you are following along with the event in Best Coast pairings, that there is a issue with the Age of Sigmar app that causes the Warp Reality spell to appear on all of the wizards. Just note that it is only on the Chaos Sorcerer Lord with Merciless Blizzard at this time. Moving on from there, he also has the Demonic Speed command, which we're going to see employed with both the Chaos Chosen and probably more likely the Varangard early on as well. It's a 7 casting value spell, wholly within 12 inches, 3d6 charge. So, I mean, combined with the command that he can issue to the Chaos Chosen, he can run and then charge, 3d6, plus his regular move. He's going to be able to extend the movement of that hammer a lot. Aside from that, he's going to use that with the Varangard to get in where he needs to, make a key charge, get into the soft underbelly of his opponent's army potentially, where opportunities allow, and take out a key unit. So a lot of utility here, a lot of aggression. These are 2 fighty armies. This is going to be a bloodbath of a game. These 2 are going to run into each other. They're going to buff their units like hell, and they're going to smack the crap out of each other, and they're going to hope that their side comes out on top. But definitely interested to see what each of these players pack. The scenario is also just going to add an interesting sub-game for both of these relatively aggressive armies. Moving on from there, I do want to talk a little bit about the scenario, which I think is worth going over in greater detail. So one thing that's worth noting here, pretty easy grab battle tactic in this GHB is going to be Intimidate the Invaders, which is going to be having 2 units wholly within 6 of the board edge outside your territory, 1 wholly within 6 but can be within your territory. It's a little bit more challenging on this map because of the territory running up to the middle of the board. Thankfully, one advantage that Ray has is that 2 of his units have a pre-game move, and he has a deep strike unit, so if he does want to stretch a little bit and try to grab this, he can do that. One thing I will note is that Oscar has positioned his terrain piece on the leftmost side of the table, and I wouldn't be surprised if part of Oscar's intention is to stop one of those units from running forward, and also just like project 18 inches onto that entire half of the table for all of those debuffs. Ray doesn't have a monster in his list, so as long as he's within 18 of that terrain piece, Oscar's going to be able to lay down different debuffs and make Ray's life more difficult. But based on that, obviously Oscar has placed that right across the 3-inch line or right beyond the 3-inch line from that bottom left objective. So I want to talk about the scenario a little more because that's going to project power onto that objective and the other one adjacent to it. Basically, the main condition in this battle plan is siphoning Meltwater. So when a player gains control of an objective, they will siphon energy from it, and then after they score victory points, basically the players will track how many turns consecutively they have controlled that objective. After 2 turns of drawing on an objective, they can no longer contest it from, or rather, no longer control it from for the remainder of the battle. So they can still contest to prevent their opponent from controlling it, but they don't count as controlling it themselves, which is certainly an interesting bit of nuance on this battle plan. It'll be interesting to see how both of these players take it, because there's a little bit of gamesmanship here in trying to pull your opponent onto these objectives and force them to overextend, use their resources, wear them out. If you can't contest the objectives, if you can't score meaningfully, you're not going to win a game of Age of Sigmar. While both of these armies are sort of on the kill plan, you got to score points ultimately at the end of the day if you want to come away with a win. So both of these players will be looking to stretch their opponent thin, force them to siphon off the Meltwater, and then proceed to clean up on points on the back end of the game. Often this means that players will end up deploying off the objectives and then move up towards center board. So like in this case, you'll notice Ray, on the other hand, is actually taking the opposite approach, kind of just saying, you know what, it's going to take me a little bit to get there. I don't want to go in too early. I'm going to land on both of these objectives. But on the other hand, you'll notice that Oscar in the bottom of the screen is deploying off of the objectives and ensuring that he's not tapping anything unnecessarily turn 1. Likely to see a unit of horses on either of the flanks grabbing one of the middle objectives if he takes the first turn, although Oscar does outdrop Ray, I believe. Actually, no, Oscar has opted for the 8-drop, so he is likely to be given first by Ray here. So we'll see what happens on that front, but Oscar definitely looking to get into the middle of the board, play a combat-heavy game, and really just work his way forward across the board if he's winning those engagements, or back it up and salvage points. With that being said, I'll give the players here a minute to finish their deployment, and I'm just going to step away briefly to just correct something on the table. Oscar adjusting his deployment here, ensuring that he has deployed the Immortus Guard. Originally he had dropped them in the garrison, but the edge of the garrison extended beyond his deployment. Of course, one cannot deploy outside of their deployment, so pulling them out, just realigning things here, making some adjustments pre-game. We should be off to the races in a moment here. Positioning those Immortus close to the objective, but not quite on. That being said, if you're viewing, definitely take the time as you can, place your bets in the chat. This is definitely going to be a bloodbath of a game, so curious to see who comes out on top here. Now, a little bit about the DaBoyz terrain setup here. Tables are semi-standardized, so every table that you're going to play on at a DaBoyz event is going to have 2 garrisons, 2 pieces of impassable terrain, 2 wildwoods, and 2 pieces of cover. The cover is most often represented by a clear plastic piece, and then going from there. That being said, given the length of the impassable pieces on this, it appears that the players have elected to count that as 2 terrain pieces since it extends beyond 12 inches. And so that is why there's the 2 impassables here. Oh, actually, rather, it's right in front of my face. It's placed on the lower right objective on both opposite ends. It blended right in with Oscar's miniatures. Ray taking the opportunity now to do his pre-game moves with the Untamed Beast, shifting them up board. So we see Ray here, he's extending forward, not quite touching the center objective, not overextending, but contesting the 2 that are in his immediate deployment space from the get-go. This is effectively going to force Ray to have to move forward over time as he contests that for the first turn. Also meaning that if Ray gives away the first turn here, that if he gives it away, he'll be fine, he'll be able to contest that again on the back end of round 2. But if he is given the priority, he's going to burn his home objectives at the start of round 2. So he's going to have to walk forward. He's going to have plans to fight Oscar, secure the middle of the board. He'll be able to play a little less patiently. He won't have a fallback plan is the point I'm trying to make here. And that's going to make for an interesting game because when these melee engagements occur, if Oscar ends up winning those trades, he's going to just push Ray back, but Ray's not going to have a spot to contest meaningfully. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. On the opposite end here, Oscar has deployed off objectives, giving him a fallback plan, probably anticipating that the sheer output from the Slaves of Darkness army is going to do a number on some of his units early, and he'll need to step back, deny space, rotate his units that are in combat. Both of these players, knowing it's a bloodbath, Ray is choosing the path that runs forward, and Oscar choosing the path that gives him a way in and a way out. Looks like they are off to the races, and I believe Oscar has been given the first turn, and he's thinking through his battle tactics. Ray just coming back to the table here and stepped away for a moment, so Oscar proceeding on with his turn here. A couple interesting bits about Oscar's deployment here. Obviously, as the horse is flanking in the lower left corner, the more gas in the back, so that if they were to countercharge over something, you'll see that probably a lot. They're going to be hanging back, and then if they countercharge over with an 8-up, they'll fight first and attack whatever unit charged Oscar's front ranks. horses likely going to flare out, try to set up some battle tactics, and also just tag those objectives on the left side.
Oh, I gotta try and do I still want your command points on the 5-up? No.
It actually appears that Ray has potentially elected to take the first turn. I'm just going to confirm with the players the battle tactic taken here. All right, Oscar starting off with a magical dominance, going for a big cast, rolling a 9 plus 2 is an 11 cast on the Mystic Shield, likely laying down that singular spell, playing it conservative, and then rocking ahead with the rest of his turn. It appears that none of Ray's casters are currently in range. Benefit of Oscar being high drops is that he can deploy Arcane out of range there and secure that tactic generally turn 1, as long as he avoids a tricky little miscast, which he has here. Miscast for non-players being a roll of Snake Eyes causes a wizard to abruptly fail their spell. They can no longer cast additional spells, and they take D3 mortal wounds, which is direct damage. But in this case, Oscar has succeeded on the spell with a big 11 cast. He has laid down the buff and secured his battle tactic immediately. Since Oscar did deploy out of range, he's proceeding with other casts now without worry.
If I see a 6 like this, I'm re-rolling. I don't do the dice back.
Ray giving Oscar the hand wave. Go ahead, do your worst. Cast what you will. Interestingly, Ray has deployed the Chosen forward enough that Oscar was able to use the tower in the hero phase to apply a -3 to charge, which is going to be great for denying some of the pressure that Ray is going to try to put on, especially given his deployment and with the knowledge that Ray has to move forward.
That guy? 5.
Oscar measuring out his spell range here. Asking about his opponent's spells as well. Looks like he's trying to preempt where those Blizzard bubbles are going to move to. I heard some talk about Blizzard. So while these two players are mulling over the turn, I do want to talk about just some of the utility of OCR Clone Reapers. I mean, previously I had talking about how one of the main things that he can do to advance his army up the board is use Unstoppable Advance to, when his OCR Clone Reapers make a normal move, move an additional 3 inches. Which is a great command, but it's not the only one. There is quite a bit. He can use Reform Ranks to retreat and charge. He can also use Counter-Strike when an enemy unit has finished a charge move on an OCR Clone Reapers unit, and that also made a charge move within 3 inches of the enemy unit that made the charge move in that turn, and get +1 to wound. Which is great. He can buff himself defensively in that respect. He can give himself +1 to his ward. He is playing a Death Army. Death armies tend to have 6-up wards. In fact, all of the above do. I have no count. I don't know why I said almost all of them. They all do. It's what they're known for. But he can make that a 5-up ward, which, as we saw in our last game with Techless, with Protection Techless, shaves off a lot of damage. I mean, mathematically it's a third, but we see in practice that dice swings in either direction can really warp the game state when you just tank much larger hits than anticipated. That being said, he can also use the Bludgeon command, which can increase Ren by 1. And of course, he can also use unflinching coordination, which is after one of his heroes has fought another Ossiarch Bone Reaper's unit that has not yet fought, that is within 3 inches of an enemy unit and wholly within 12 of the hero, can fight also. So he has a lot of really strong activation control, which combined with the tankiness of Ossiarch Bone Reapers and the combat buffs, really makes for the combat phase being a space where he plays around a lot with his army mechanics and does a lot of damage. Moving on from there, I do want to highlight one other bit here that's going to differ between these two armies. As I said, this is a game where there's going to be a lot of combat. These two are going to smack each other and they're going to fight, and one of them's going to come out on top. But uniquely for Ray, he's going to have to, well, not uniquely for Oscar, he's going to not take battle shots from any of them. So if his units are being peeled away, there's not going to be any additional losses from combat. Granted, most of his units are fairly small size at MSU anyway, but on the other hand, Ray does have these units that as Oscar is shipping into them. They will be forced to take battle shots. Ray will be saving commands maybe to prevent that in certain cases. So worth noting, there's a difference in each of these armies, the power of attrition as well. Oscar having that mechanic as well as some rewards. He has recursion. He's here for a long time. Ray is here for a good time in terms of list composition. So do you want to say hi to stream? Here we have Madigan, our TO, saying hello to stream. Madigan is running about the hall like a mad woman, trying to catch all of the mistakes that people do. She is the arbiter of rules here at Golden Sprue. They didn't say hi back yet, but I'm sure they will.
No manners.
Someone auto-checks Smite, do they get the D3?
Oscar beginning to move his units up the board. 2 units of Immortus Guard flanking Catacross on each side. Those horses working their way around the garrison in the bottom left. Curious to see how Ray responds to this and how he plays the prio. Obviously, Oscar keeping somewhat of a miniature castle. I won't call it a true castle. It's more of a fort than anything. It's only a couple units. But it is sturdy, I'll give it that. Assembled in the bottom there. And then he has the horses flared out a little bit. And I'm curious how Ray begins to try to piece this apart. Obviously, the Chosen being debuffed is going to limit their range and projection of power on the board, but Ray could always just run them up and hold them for later. Nevertheless, he does have those 6 Chosen, and they're going to come in, they're going to do some damage, but with units like the Immortus Guard and also like Catacross right up at the front, there's going to be quite a price to pay for engaging Oscar's army here. Oscar proceeding through movement now, tying things up. He scored magical dominance, held 1, held 2, and held more. He toe-tagged the center objective on the left side of the table with the front end of his Cavalos Death Riders unit, and then on the right side, placing in Immortus Guard and Archon to capture that objective as well. So he's held each of those objectives for a single turn. Oscar failing again to steal a command point. 5 up's not super likely, but incredibly valuable. It is siphoning your opponent's resources when you already have them outsized on command points by many. Ray making some measurements and flank, likely working out his ability to score surround and destroy here. With everything as it stands, Ray is going to advance forward likely on that right side of the table there, and it looks like with an auto run he may be able to make it, but it's a fair distance away. I mean, he has to make it past the dot in the center objectives to make it to the midboard of the table, and then also stay wholly within 6 inches of the edge. It is, however, far easier for that unit to accomplish it than a unit on the opposite end. It appears the Corvus are in deep strike, so we could see those come out to try to pick up the tactic. One bit that's interesting here is that if you look at where Oscar's dice tray is positioned, if the Corvus Cabal come down, yeah, have a ball. They made it really heavy.
Well, all ice is melting now.
Yeah. But because of where Oscar's dice tray is currently sitting, that space on the opposite side, if you look at where Arkin and the Immortus Guard are positioned, they aren't on the 3-inch ring, so therefore Ray could drop the Corvus on that objective and take it. The downside of this is that Ray stood on both of the 2 home objectives from the get-go here. So due to that, he is going to need to work out some other type of scoring plan without pressing too much onto these center objectives. That way he has some longevity scoring-wise. Nevertheless, he put the Corvus Cabal in deep strike with that in mind, so he likely has a plan for them. In fact, I think we may see them come out to help him score the battle tactic. Let's confirm with the players the tactic of choice now that we're into the hero phase here. Alright, coming back in, tactic is still being debated by Ray. Oscar also being incredibly helpful has laid out dice in the lower right corner to lay out how long he has held each of the objectives, which I have never thought of doing actually before on this battle plan, in this fashion at least, which is super cool to see. So power to Oscar for that, making my life easier as a commentator. Ray debating between an apparent surround destroy or one of the Slaves to Darkness battle tactics, which requires him to roll on the Eye of the Gods table. So let's talk a little bit about that further. Looking for that battle tactic by name now is Lust for Power. He'll pick a friendly Slaves to Darkness hero that has the Eye of the Gods keyword, and if he rolls on the Eye of the Gods table this turn, he will score 2 points. So the Eye of the Gods table, basically, for those at home, is at the end of each phase for every enemy hero or monster that you destroy, the Slaves to Darkness unit that has it, including those destroyed by an ability or spell used by that unit, you have to make a roll. And it's on this table. There's a result for every pairing of 2 dice you can imagine. In addition, if you gain control of an objective and opponent controlled, you make a roll. When you roll, you also roll 2d6 for Slaves of Darkness heroes. And all other units roll a single die and add 2. But there's a lot of great buffs that Ray can roll off this. He could pick up a ward, he could kill a model and summon a demon prince. He could improve Rend until the end of the battle. He can accidentally kill his hero and summon a Chaos Spawn in place of it. So there's a bit of variety here. Obviously, he's hoping for the good stuff and not the, oh my god, my hero is dead. But it'll be interesting to see how this pairs out here. One other thing that Ray can do is that he has a heroic action that is going to allow him to roll 3 dice instead of 2 on the Eye of the Gods table, and pick any of those 2 dice as his score. So, while I did address the fact that there are some buffs that he may not want to see at this point, he's going to have some ability to manipulate this.
I got mine.
Oh, it looks like chat was not refreshing, but we are up to date now. Hi, Ryan in the chat. Also, hi, Sean. Also, Ryan, you are correct in regards to the Untamed Beast in the pregame move, but that was not the choice that was made. They have advance forward remaining on that objective, so we'll see how that pans out. Josh has finally received a hello back. Also, yes, now I can see the chat. Definitely a bit of an interesting board state. Oscar pushing Cat out in front, in the middle, no fear. Varangard who?
Let's go! Let's go!
Ray moving through hero phase. Sean in the chat saying I can hear those guys having a good time. They are definitely having a good time. Ray is always jubilant at the table, and Oscar is always a good time as well. Both of these players very often receiving high marks in sportsmanship, and I don't think I've ever had a poor game against either of them. Both very fun opponents. As I was mentioning earlier, played Ray just a year ago on stream round 2 at Golden Sprue, so nice to see him back here again rocking the same army. Also want to give a shout out to his Alapex conversion that he has for the mounted sorcerer, or rather for the mounted Chaos Lord. Definitely a really cool conversion with the Alapex there. Marcella right now is 1-0. Answered a question in the chat here. She played Jeremy Williams, Seraphon Coalesce list round 1, and that went positive. And then this round, I believe she is up against Slaves to Darkness. When Madigan makes her rounds again, I'll see if she can grab me a table update from a few tables, see how they're looking. While the board state develops here, I'll take the time to kind of just run through some of the other pairings for this round. We can see how some of the undefeated players from the last round are doing. I gave a shout out to Hunter Armstrong and his 6 Monster Trucks list last round, but he is playing against Sons of Bahamut this round, piloted by Brian Kissel. Brian is playing Breaker Tribe with 4 Mega Gargants and an interesting list running Baron Icescape as the grand strategy, as opposed to the typical on the warpath or make the lands tremble. Brian also coming away from his first round with a win, also over Sons of Bahamut, which I had mentioned last round. But a lot of tanky artifacts in Brian's list, definitely a lot of chunk, and it's going to be up to Hunter to crash as many of his monster trucks into his models as possible, roll those big charges, and do some damage. Moving down range, we also have another interesting game going on, which is Sean O'Shaughnessy's Big Wa against Dan Berg's Korn. So interested to see how that one shakes out. I think Both players have had a fair few games in that matchup in the past, but it was their first time playing against each other at the event, to my recollection as well. So definitely interested to see how that pans out. Of course, we have our game on the featured table here. Dan Riker, who won on stream last round, is playing against Jason Rem's Fire Slayers. So we'll see how that one pans out as well. Curious to see how the Fire Slayers do against Techless. But of course, they are packing some of the invocations, which traditionally a Lumineth list could not interact with. But in this case, as we know from last round's stream, that Dan Riker is bringing Ionis, which is going to allow him to interact with and remove those invocations. So it'll be interesting to see there. And of course, Jason bringing some of the anti-magic tech as well in the hand-carved Nullstone that we get in this GHB. So curious to see. I've played Jason very recently with Lumineth myself, so he knows the army, he knows how to deal with the magic, he knows how to find range with Techless, he's aware of these things, so we'll have to see how things fare there. It'll be an interesting game. Alright, coming back into the table here, looks like Ray is proceeding through his movement phase. We're beginning to see the Varangard move forward, and it looks like Ray is actually using that very same Alapex conversion that I shouted out as the unit leader of his, well, there's no leader, but just as a Varangard. So that is super, super interesting to see. It's an awesome piece of hobby. We see the Chaos Warrior moving up center board as well, staying on the objective. Ray tagging the center objective on the left side with the Untamed Beasts. Sean calling out in the chat that he believes that each of Ray's Varangard are a conversion. You might be right, Sean. I'd have to check them out after the game. But if so, it's pretty cool and a great way to innovate around the cost-prohibited box of Varangard. You have to sell organs to buy 12 Varangard. Ray moving some of his buffs up range. I believe he called the Eye of the Gods battle tactic. He did take an objective from his opponent with the cultists on the left side there as well. Moving the other Untamed Beast into cover now. Ryan highlighting in the chat that he does not want to spend $600 to run Knights of the Empty Throne. I feel you, brother. I have played that army a handful of times on TTS online. A lot of fun. It's not a lot of fun for your wallet. Not at all. Excellent models, though. Truly beautiful pieces, in my opinion. Much of the Slaves book is just filled with awesome models. Ray coming down range, he is now dropping the Corvus in the bottom right corner. It appears he's potentially setting up a future surround and destroy. Though it might be a little clunky with the amount of space that is offered by the terrain piece on the left side. He's going to have to find another board edge to place a unit since there's nothing hanging back. He could always run a unit backwards, secure that as well. I'm sure he's considered that possibility. Oscar's terrain placement, I think, working a little bit of overtime there on the left side. And of course that will continue to debuff and smack the Chosen, limit Ryan's projection. Not Ryan. I said Ryan in the chat. Ray's projection. Yes, I believe Oscar did just win and give it away. I am going to just confirm that with the players. That's what the body language looked like, at least. TBD.
I want Prio, Ray's going first.
Yeah, you gave it to him. Okay, yep. Oscar just confirmed that he did give the Prio to Ray. So Ray's scoring 1-2 more end tactic on that turn. Ray calling surround and destroy, as I had mentioned previously. But obviously losing the cryo here is going to put him in a position where he is going to burn 3 objectives. Super difficult because when calling surround and destroy, obviously he's going to have to fan out. He's going to have to put things on board edges. Simultaneously, he needs to press forward. He needs to grab other objectives. So we'll see what he has in the tank here. Risky play, exactly. Chat commenting. Let's see if it pays off. Definitely going to be a bit difficult to get 2 more, especially because 2 of the objectives being burnt are on the left side of the table, which is where most of his forces are concentrated, and his most mobile unit is going to be the Vanguard, which wants to go forward, not to the flank. So, see how things pan. I mean, it might try to dig into Arkin if they get into range, but we'll see how things pan out and how Ray cobbles together points here. Ray securing a extra CP on one of the sorcerers. So I mean, from Oscar's perspective, you've got to feel pretty comfortable here, right? You've got center board, you've scored only what you need. If you take that objective that you had with the horses back, you're not going to melt it. So I think you're pretty comfortable. Ray's burning a lot of objectives, your scoring game looks good. Not only that, but he is not really facing a lot of pressure. Yes, thank you, Ryan. He will melt it because it's 2 consecutive turns. Red Bull must be wearing off. But goes to show, playing the prio, super important. We saw it in our last game. We're seeing it here again. Oscar, knowing he has that first turn, playing coy, only scoring what he needs, allowing him to bank on winning that priority, giving it away, and putting Ray under a lot of pressure to make points happen. Just fixing score there. It is not 10-0. It is 5-5. Both players scoring max on each of their first turns. The Bone Tithe Nexus did go off last turn, and he applied. I wrote it down. It was the -3 to charges on the Chosen in the upper left. So, yes, very much a base choice. Hurting the charge of the unit that likes to charge. Definitely based. As long as you're not talking to destruction players. Also just super opportune and easy way to limit pressure. I mean, Oscar taking advantage of his knowledge of terrain placement there, throwing that out there. Ray placing the Chosen just a tad too close to the terrain piece. And Oscar just fully taking advantage of it, denying as much pressure as he can, limiting the amount of units that can come in at a given time.
We're just gonna make this a little bit thinner, so...
Ray's Corvus is dancing in the corner. He's still calling Surround and Destroy, so I mean, he's got 2 units. He's got the bottom edge of the board, the rightmost edge of the board. He's likely going to run that unit at the top towards center board, straight back. Running now the Untamed Beast onto the far objective.
Star Wars Legion
Looks like
players
Ray is
on our
still proceeding through
tournament
his movement phase here, so we'll give him some time. But in the interim, for those of you who are just joining us, you are keyed into the DaBoyz Golden Sprue GT live stream for round 2. I am your commentator, Tyler Bushy, and I'll be providing you 5 rounds of Age of Sigmar this weekend as we crown a new DaBoyz Golden Sprue champion. Super excited. We have 30 very well qualified players here, all competing to be the best in hobby, sports, and the tournament itself, and to walk away with a beautiful set of accolades. Of course, I mentioned this round 1, but I'll throw it out there again that the winner of the event the last 2 years was myself, so because I have opted to commentate the event, no matter who comes away with it this year, it's going to be a brand new Golden Sprue champion, which is exciting. Definitely the intrigue wondering who it will be. There's a couple very, very strong contenders in the field that have been grinding games, working incredibly hard, hobbying well, preparing for this event. So I'm excited to see how we come into tomorrow, what that undefeated field looks like, who's paired into who. It's going to be a very exciting, intense set of games. See the Chosen now advancing forward. They'll still have that -3 to charge and pose. Oscar hitting a small 2-inch redeploy, so pulling himself back. Sean asked if I'm going to stream top table. Yep, when we get to round 5, I will be streaming whichever table is going to be the table that Best General stems from. We should only have 1 undefeated table. Prior to that, I will be trying to stream tables that are undefeated players, yes, but also giving army variety, keeping interesting games on stream. In addition to that, I want to make sure that because of the number of players we have, there will be an odd number of undefeateds generally. So if I can pull in that table, I probably will as well if there's an interesting pair in there as well. So it won't be 2 undefeateds, but it'll be a undefeated player and a pair up. So we'll see how it goes, but definitely want to give good variety. Brian pointing it out in the chat, but definitely want to underscore this. 2-inch redeploy, -3 inches to charge. There's +1 on the drummer charge, and yes, the Chosen are Slaneshmar. So we're going to see how this goes. Ray going to try to make some big charges. I'm going to confirm with the players. I believe he may have gotten off the 3d6 charge spell in the hero phase. So we'll see how deep he's going. Either way, he's trying to get in there, do some damage, activate twice, pick up whatever he can. So bear with me for just a moment. Just going to do a quick table check, and I will be right back. Alright everybody, we are back, so I just did a quick table check and confirmed that not only did the 3d6 charge spell not go off, but Mystic Shield was also stopped by Arcane. So, unfortunate casting phase for Ray. He's trying to make a long bomb charge with the Vanguard here, otherwise they are stuck out in the open. And not only that, when he does go in, although they will be activating twice, Oscar is going to get a chance to respond, and the Mystic Shield is not there. It is going to be a little more precarious than Ray really wants it to be. So we'll see how things go here. This is a turn that could very well remove a lot of Ray's damage output. It's going to be bloody. That being said, Oscar, as I mentioned earlier, is playing the Mortis Praetorians OBR sub-faction. So with that in mind, we see the Vanguard are making the charge here, but Oscar is going to get an opportunity to attempt a counter charge if he so chooses. And he has lots of great options in range. And I see one T1 due south of the screen. Very likely to see the Morghast try to make a counter charge. He hits an 8 up here, flies over Arkin, puts fight first on the Morghast. He could take out a pretty clean amount. That's a big 9. So that was on the Morghast, so they are going to fight first, which means he is going to get a clean crack into those Vanguard. They will not be able to issue commands. A very precarious position for those Vanguard to be in. Now, at the very least, the silver lining here for Ray is that he does have +1 rend and wound on the charge and +1 attack, so pretty good, but he's not going to have that +1 to hit from all-out attack. He's not going to have all-out defense, and he's still missing the Mystic Shield. So Oscar is peeling away some of those layers of efficiency. We talked a lot at the beginning of the game about combat buffs. These two players are going to buff their units. They're going to fight each other, and they're going to try to maximize the efficiency of their units and see how it goes. And they're going to just run a clean fade. In this case, Ray has tried to put those buffs on, but because of that, Oscar has some of his own up. The efficiency leans to the OCR Bone Reapers here. That being said, the Chosen did get into the horses, so they'll probably be able to take that unit out, which is good. It's not removing a hammer, but the Chosen are relatively sturdy and can likely withstand some amount of crackback. So we'll see. This is going to be a big old bloodbath. Hilariously, if Ray would like, he can also stomp the Vanguard because the Morghasts are already stopping the commands. Yeah, the Chosen did not make it in with a lot of excess there. So obviously they're going to have to do what they can with the pile-in, but they're pretty fighty. A handful of them should be able to pick up a substantial amount of the horses, even accounting for Arkin's buff, but I mean, of course, Oscar has some defensive buffs he can employ as well, so we'll see how they do. I have some faith that they can peel away a sizable portion of that unit, if not clean it up. I'm guessing they probably won't clean it up quite, but we'll see. I mean, even for Oscar, one of those horses sticking around is substantial. Extra units give him extra CP. Having a quick unit like that opens up his battle tactic potential in the late game. Now we see Oscar activating now with the Morghasts. He is at Rend 3. No commands. Looks like 6 got through. Ray rolling.
But I do drive them like kind of justify.
Looks like Ray picked up the 6-up ward from his Eye of the Gods roll last turn for the battle tactic. So he's coming in hot and he's just taking whatever damage he can off the top from these. Looks like Oscar may have bludgeoned, so he's went straight through too. I didn't see save rolls come out from Ray's side. Calculating damage, looks like we are losing 2 Vanguard before they even get the swing, which is pretty substantial loss. Got to be feeling pretty good about that counter charge from the Morghasts. Two and a half, that is true. Every pip of damage counts. Ray piling in now with the Vanguard, trying to do what damage he can. Forcing damage wherever he can find an opportunity. Note there are only 4 Vanguard in. The Alapex conversion is magnetized and is off the base. I think he just popped it off for being able to move it closer to the Morghast without swooping models. It was a unit of 6. I'll double check it now for chat, but I believe they are 5 each. They are 5 each. Yeah, slightly above average wards. Oscar's wards coming out here. Looks like Oscar warded 1. No, warding 3, because it's the Morghast. And removing 1 from the board. So one thing I want to talk about here too is really just like opportunity costs. So I mean, we talked a lot about both of these armies buffing, fighting, efficiency, right? But the opportunity cost for Oscar fighting is incredibly low. And the reason for that is that OCR Bone Reapers just have great recursion, which I don't think I have talked about enough this game. Models like Arkin and Catacross and the other heroes can pick his OCR Bone Reapers within a certain range. And if they're not Immortus Guard or Stalkers, he can heal 3 wounds allocated to them, or if no wounds have been allocated to them, he can return slain models with wound characteristic 3 or less. If they are Immortus Guard or Stalkers, he can heal up to 3 wounds allocated to them, or if no wounds have been allocated to that unit, roll a die, and on a 3-up, a slain model comes back with 4 wounds allocated to him. So, not for nothing, Ray might even just knock some of these models down and they're going to stand right back up. Now, notably, you'll notice that Ray targeted the Morghast. Why is that? The Morghast are going to stop Oscar from, or Ray rather, from issuing commands within 3 inches, so no all-out attack, no all-out defense when the Immortus Guard activate, but also, the Immortus Guard are going to stand back up potentially. The Morghasts don't stand back up. You mow them down, they are done. He can still rally them, but he's going to have to retreat, get out of range. Pretty good target for Ray. But, I mean, for Oscar, this is looking pretty good with the no command sticking around. We see some swings now coming in, it looks like, from the Immortus Guard. Ray rolling a few volleys of saves here. Looks like he has lost the next Varangard down and some damage carrying through to the next. Oh, he's lost 2. Absolutely brutal. You know, this is about 350 points worth of model coming off here in Ray's charge phase. So, pretty successful combat for Oscar so far. A lot of very punchy units. Everything that is doing the hurting is hurting real bad. Now we see those Chosen finally activating, coming into the horses. Players just tidying up those Chosen. Looks like we're going to have 5 coming in. Maybe 6? They are 2-inch range. I just, beyond that first 5, there's one behind the unit that's directly above the horse, and there's one more in the upper right of that unit that may be able to reach, but looks like they just might be out. So, looks like based on the number of dice, the players have determined that 7 are going in. Interested to see how much happens here, but it is a unit of horses, and I mean, the Varangard are hurting. Curious to see how much damage that the Immortus have done. I believe Oscar has opted to pop the Immortus fight twice. I believe Ray is intending to activate the Varangard twice before they die as well. We'll see Arkan activate here at some point. Those Varangard are not long for this world. I'll confirm with the players which fight twice activations have occurred once they finish rolling through this combat.
I got
Great call out in the chat, but the Varangard are Bravery 9. If 5 of them run away, that is a very real possibility that the last one will run. I talked a little bit about that, just the attritional value of the OBR in this context. You have 2 combat armies, but one likes to stand in place and heal and doesn't take battle shock, and the other is not doing it. Looks like they're figuring out the save characteristic. So 12 damage coming through onto the horses. 3 wounds a pop. That is only enough to kill 4 before wards. I have manifested at least a single horse winning by commenting earlier that 1 horse surviving would be pretty substantial for Oscar. Obviously, again, no battle shock, no chance of that horse running, and even having a single horse survive opens up future battle tactic potential. He could also tie up the Chosen here, which it appears is what he is opting to do. I believe Oscar did opt for all-out defense here because I heard him rolling through his defensive buffs when they were calculating the save. So you can't see it on camera currently, but I believe there's 1 horse, maybe just a hair outside of 3 of the Chosen. Or maybe that's it behind the thing. I'm going to take a peek at the table. Yep, last horse is hiding behind the garrison in the shadow there. It has 1 wound allocated to it.
That's okay.
2 wounds remaining. But it is big chillin'.
They don't explode. They don't explode. No. 2.
I think keeping the horse out of combat probably makes sense since Oscar's on the back end of the turn here. Or of the round, rather.
2. Yeah, 2.
Unless he's really committed to engaging, but I mean, I think it's fine at this point. We see the Immortus Guard now coming into the Varen Guard. That might be Arkan, actually, based on quantity of dice roll. I'll confirm that as well.
You just press this button right here. Look at this. Up.
Josh totally muted us.
Yeah. No. We were actually talking to you the whole time.
Yeah, we were 100% talking
We're
to you guys.
just dumb. We're just dumb.
Skill issue.
Yeah. I was saying how great Tyler was doing. I was agreeing with you guys. I was saying he was doing a great job, like describing the action and potential avenues for success without letting the players know, even though they're like they're so close we could smell them if they smelled. But this is round 2. People don't smell yet.
He muted the mic, that way he could belittle me off the record.
Yeah.
He was like, "What are you saying, dude?" So jumping back into the action here, we see Oscar's in real good shape here. I mean, obviously Ray is chilling with the last Varangard here. I think they've passed through the turn now, and I believe Ray passed the battle shock for the Varangard. I'm going to take a moment now just to do a quick table check between turns, see where we're at in the action, and I'll be right back with you. I'll leave it. You can talk to him. You don't
I'm
want
good.
You're good?
I gotta hang out. I gotta talk to everybody else at the event.
Good luck. Have fun slap chopping.
All right.
So importantly,
lead. I'm going for lead.
Oscar is called Led into the Maelstrom as his battle tactic for the turn. Varangard hanging on with 2 wounds remaining. Ray rolling a 2 on the battle shock roll to keep it alive. And he did score a full 5, which I think is crucial given we've talked about some of the difficulty he may have long term here with getting rid of some of those objectives. I mean, I think we anticipated he would score 5, given he was still holding on to the back 2 objectives, but it's good that he's keeping up on the points here, since Oscar's scoring potential looks really good with what's still available to him. Oscar's tactic plan looking pretty stable here. Led into the Maelstrom is going to be a nice, safe, and easy battle tactic for him. Led into the Maelstrom being a tactic where he has to charge with a hero and the battle line unit, and at the end of the combat phase, one of them needs to be within an inch of the unit. Or a unit, rather. Not necessarily the unit that they charge. They have to be within combat range. Within an inch, rather, not combat range. It's the Sex on the Beach talking. Those chosen look like a nice target for a Led into the Maelstrom, given that the Varangard likely to die from the combination of the Immortus, Morgus, and Arkan. That might be overkill, so wouldn't be surprised if we see a potential retreat and charge here. We are not hitting Applebee's tonight, actually. Josh, for all of the tournament staff, is going to be ordering out. I guess there's a local burger joint that he's very fond of that he's ordering us all dinner from. So that'll be super great. Looking forward to that. And then tonight at the event hall, we have a Bluey board game tournament. Yes, I said Bluey, the children's show. I had to look up what it was because I wasn't totally sure. And there's also going to be like sci-fi and fantasy trivia, and the DaBoyz crew was so kind as to allocate equivalent prizing to this trivia and board game event equal to the main tournament itself. So super exciting for that. Gives everyone something nice to do in the evening. So we'll be hanging out, playing some board games, relaxing, and then heading home to rest and gear up for a big day 2 tomorrow. 2 more rounds of Warhammer to stream and crown our champion. Sean said to stream the Bluey board games. If there's enough demand for a board game stream of Bluey's Keepy Uppies. I have a officially run out of Red Bull. So somebody put an F in the chat to pay respects, please. And I waited too long to drink my Sex on the Beach, so now it's watered down because the ice melted. I know, I talk too much on stream. Oscar working his way through hero phase here, asking a few questions about his opponent's board state. As you were saying before, I mean, Oscar's tactic potential here looks pretty good. The Let Into the Maelstrom feels really safe. We're probably not going to see that Chosen unit ripped off the board quite yet. Seems pretty easy to get that done there. And I mean, with that, he's got a fair few options to clean up this turn. The Chosen, I believe, are within Blizzard range as well. That is worth calling out. That being said, I'm curious what he does. I think the Blizzard into the Chosen feels incredibly safe here. And I mean, moving on from that, just to let into the Maelstrom into the Chaos Warriors, you're not going to take damage, meaningful damage back. You're just going to sit there. You're going to smack them over and over again. The unit will be stuck on the objective that he's siphoned. Seems pretty good.
This guy
Oscar laid some of his buffs here. So Oscar has specifically sequenced his hero phase here so that the remaining spell is Blizzard. This is Arcan's last cast going off in 11. He already cast Mystic Shield. I think this is where we're going to see the primals come down. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. That is a successful Blizzard. Here it comes. We've got the Unbind roll. I think that's a 5. That is a successful Blizzard. 4d6 coming in. This is gonna hurt. Chosen within range. The anxiety is killing me. There is no ward, to my knowledge, on the Chosen presently. Oh, were the Chosen out? Huh. I thought they had measured that it was within 12 just then. He did it on the Varangard to free everything. Interesting. I wonder if he thinks he needs to charge for Let Into the Maelstrom into the Chosen and piece them apart and just avoid the Chaos Knights. That being said, does save on some command points here. He's not trying to give 3 extra moves to all his dudes to get up to the Chaos Warriors. You're banking on shorter charges here. I think it feels pretty okay. I think, though, were this the plan, there may have just been an argument to potentially just leave a horse in range with the Chosen, so there's no redeploy at all. But we'll see how things pan out. Catacross is popping here. Throwing up his defensive buff. I believe Oscar is doing the +1 to save. One here, so we're good to go. Those units are going to be especially tanky. Now he's free to move as he would like up the board. Super, super powerful ability here. And all things considered, like, Catacross brings a lot of utility to the table. You're paying 500 points for this, and you feel really good about it. Looks like Arkin is going after the Corvus in the corner. Which is interesting. I think he can make it back. He's fast. I think I just expected him to maybe be a likely choice to try to put him into the Chaos Knights. I know chat had called out he does have the hunger, and so they can pillow fist into each other over and over again. But I mean, so be it. Oscar appears to be moving the Immortus Guard forward, maybe trying to take the damage challenge with the Chaos Knights, which is interesting. We do still see Catacross and the other Immortus Guard have yet to move here, so I'm curious how he commits these pieces. He has effectively limited some of his choices for the tactic. I mean, he does have the other heroes nearby, but I think he probably is going to charge Catacross for the battle tactic here. Actually, no, because he's still charging Arkin anyway. It doesn't have to stay in. He'll still have a battle line unit in. Yep, Ryan pointed out in the chat as well. So he'll still be good either way. So he'll still, either way, he'll still have two opportunities to charge and get the hero in. But, I mean, interesting. It does put Arkin a fair ways away from the casters, which, of course, I think some of that magical dominance was helping him early. Probably okay, all things considered, because, like, the main units that Ray wants to buff are going to be mostly gone after this turn, if things go right in the combat phase. We'll have to see how the damage pans out. Catacross flaring out, actually, further away from the Chosen. Interesting. So it looks like Oscar is banking on the Arkin charge. Probably better than charging in Catacross at this point, I think. Curious to see how far that Corvus charge is in the bottom right. We'll see what happens here. These gentlemen are doing trigonometry. We've got a redeploy coming in here from the Chosen. Pulling them sideways. It's good, adding a little bit of extra distance to the charge, although Oscar's Immortus on bottom, I believe, still have yet to move, which will allow them to close the gap there. The electric slide, as chat has lovingly referred to it. That's what the Corvus were doing from turn 1 into 2. They were just tap dancing in the corner. Curious, we're going to get into combat here. while we're waiting for this phase to move along here, let's take a look at the pairings for the round, see what results have closed out so far. Looks like only one game is completed so far, with Brian and Hunter, the Guardians First Ogres matchup. Ended with a one battle tactic difference, actually, although a fair bit further apart on the victory points, 19 to 28 in favor of the Ogres. So Hunter proceeding into round 3, 2-0. Will likely he continues on in this way to probably see him on stream tomorrow. I mentioned earlier, but his Monster Trucks list, definitely a solid favorite in the field, I think. But so far, everything else still in progress, so hopefully soon before long we'll also have a couple other table updates.
I had to count there, it was okay at my house last week.
Chat highlighting, as I mentioned earlier, yes, Hunter has absolutely been putting the work in with the reps. There's a handful of folks here today. I mean, Zach, Sean put in incredible amounts of work ahead of this. I think Zach ended up coming up a little bit short round 1 against Ross, and Big Wah against OCR Bone Reapers. Sean overcoming his round 1 opponent. Sean currently against Dan Berg's Korn, which is certain to be an interesting game. Sure, we'll likely see the winner of that game either next round or tomorrow as well.
I don't know him well enough.
Camera does appear to be shaking. It's likely that somebody has their foot pressed upon one of the sticks, so I'm just going to step away to just double check that and fix it up. All right, returning back here, I took the moment to tidy up the setup. We should be good. It does border the table on either edges, but we should be fine going forward as long as the table is steady. But also took the time to get a couple table updates. I took a look at Marcella's game right now. She's playing against Logan Vanderwalker, who is playing a hyper-aggressive Kotet list. That being said, that game looks like it's a bloodbath. There are very few models left on the table, and it appears that they are in turn 2. So they have shoved their armies into each other. Looked at the Corn versus Big Wah game. Unfortunately, it looks like Big Wah got boom-thirsted bigly. So that is looking pretty ugly on that end. So perhaps we'll see some Corn on stream in the near future. Now on this end, looks like Oscar has gone to charges. He did make his charge with Arkin into the Corvus, and he has made 2 separate charges with the Immortus Guard. So we're going to see how these combats proceed. It looks like a nice, easy battle tactic for Oscar, though. The horses also charging in the bottom left, getting into the Untamed Beasts. Ryan pointing out correctly in the chat that he is likely to get 1-2 more this turn, putting him up on 5, evening the score at 10-10 for the turn, and just a very strong position on board in terms of just where his models are located and what his opponent has left. We'll have to see how much these Immortus Guard do, but if there's only a couple Chaos chosen on the board at the end of this turn, I think that in terms of output, it becomes increasingly difficult for the Slaves of Darkness army to actually get through the OCR Glen Reaper's troops. Ryan pointing out this is a funny interaction, but because unlimited resources, you no longer control the objective, they get +1 attacks, which is funny. Make sure Ray is sizing up his dice now. I believe they are 2 base, so it looks like he has incorporated that. Yep, they are 2 top, so Ray has caught that as well, which is super funny. You see how much comes into these Immortus Guard here. Looks like the camera is still shaking a tad, likely just due to its proximity to the table. So what we'll probably do is shift that around after this game to give it a little bit extra room. Here come the wards for what got through. No all-out defense, meaning Oscar is saving on a 3-up, but he did make a very solid ward save. Oscar activating the horses now, doing some careful measuring. Horses now into the Untamed Beast. They should pick up a fair share of these, if not all. Not that the horses are incredibly punchy, but the Untamed Beasts are not exactly the world's sturdiest unit. 2 6s for the Naderite weapons, causing mortals. Oscar has gotten in 4 saves. It looks like he's forced. Yeah, wounds on 4 is indeed rough. Although I will say, when you wound on 2, sometimes it still feels like you're wounding on 4s, such as dice. Yeah, it does appear that Oscar has captured that point now, which is going to give him a 5-point turn. Keeps him on pace with his opponent, which is excellent here. Chosen activating now. Looks like this is probably where Oscar is going to expend the all-out defense and brace for impact. We'll see how much is done by the Immortus Guard here. Ray's pulling together a bucket of dice now for the Chaos Chosen. So a couple odds and ends. I mean, each of the Chosen is going to be 3 attacks apiece, 3s and 3s, -1, 2 damage a pop. But an unmodified hit roll of 6 is going to inflict a mortal wound on the target in addition to the other damage. So we'll see how things pan out here.
Yep, so she's saving on 2s.
Oscar on 2 ups there, which is incredibly tanky. Rolling a single 1, taking 2 damage. Oh, looks like maybe 2 came in. Oh no, it looks like it was 1 plus a mortal wound. Okay. And I think he took 2 damage? No, it looked like he may have taken all 3. Not enough to peel away an Immortus Guard, and those Immortus Guard are going to activate twice in all likelihood. Looks like Oscar is activating. Ray just saying, okay, the Corvus Cabal have died. I'm looking up Arkin's profile now relative to the Corvus. I mean, the Corvus are, what, 12 wounds? 10 wounds, because they have 1 model that has extra, I think. Yeah, it looks like it's just, no. They're -1 for the wound because of the Idolator Lords. Give me 1 moment to just table judge for a moment quick here. I'd like the players to just roll that through because it might be important. Players are correcting the board state by just rolling that through really quickly just to make sure that Arkin does actually kill the Corvus here, since there is a fair likelihood that the Corvus survive. Ray giving up and underestimating his units in the bottom right corner a little too easily. We will shame him after the game. Okay. The Corvus have actually died now properly. Arkin has absolutely mowed down the, the Corvus. He's run through them. Very upset that we assumed that he would not kill them. He brought his best. Here go some of the Chaos Warriors. We did talk a fair bit about absolutely how tanky these are, but of course, when paired against a Mortis Guard who do a substantial amount of damage in their own right, you are going to see a handful of those peeled away.
Star Wars Legion players, you have 30.
Without checking the math on it, though, 6 does feel like a substantial performance from them, factoring in both the banner and the Nurgle mark. Although I suppose with a bludgeon and an additional buff, probably works out a little bit below that. Looks like Ray is fighting on death with the Chaos Warriors. Oscar still saving on 2s. Wait, is that what the goes for? No, this is the second activation from the Chosen. My apologies. Still saving on 2s because of the defensive buffs. Warning Oscar is the first Immortus Guard from that unit and putting that guy up to 4 wounds allocated alongside him. So about 6 wounds of Immortus Guard left in combat with the Chaos Chosen. Oh, looks like the hero was able to put over a little bit of extra, not the hero, the unit leader was able to splash in a little bit of extra damage, chipping that unit down to a single Immortus.
I'm gonna throw the arc. I guess I got rid of it on those 2 guys out of here. I'm gonna throw the arcane bolt into those, so you're gonna take a mortal.
I don't believe, it looks like they're beginning to figure out battle shocks, but I don't believe we've seen the Immortus Guard fight. Although I do see 9 Chosen, so the only way that he would be down one is if they did, and they just bounced off. So I think we may have seen a whiff, and he did not fight twice. Unfortunate whiff there, but probably fair considering some of the other dice have been doing pretty well. Balances out in the long run here. Looks like Ray won the prio.
This one turned off for me.
Ray jumping for joy at that one. Definitely happy to see that he's got a chance to come in a little deeper here. Try to apply some pressure, finish off some of these units. Losing the Varangard, obviously incredibly difficult from this position, given that his two main combat units remaining are Rend 1 units attacking into a Mortis Guard. Very tough task here to peel away some of these units. I believe Ray has elected to take it, which I think is an intuitive choice here. Definitely makes sense given the pressure he's under. Oscar also picking up another 5 points that turn. Ray's mulling over battle tactics, doing some free measuring, surveying. Ray definitely needs to kind of dig deep here and not only plan out this turn's tactic, but also a few subsequent tactics with the remaining units on the board. Ray no longer able to contest the top 2 objectives, and I believe the leftmost one in the center as well. The other difficult decision here for Ray too is that on the right side of the board, I mean, there's objectives that he could contest, but he doesn't have units that will be able to meaningfully contest them for the long term, right? He has those Untamed Beasts that are on the rightmost side of the table near the center objective, and Arkin's right there to say hello. Catacross is on the other side of the objective. Like, he can move on to that objective, but there are answers in the immediate vicinity. The scoring's going to look a little difficult here. Seeing what he pans out, still thinking on his tactic here. Ray is scratching his head. He said, "You have got me in a bind." He's definitely mulling over these tactics seriously. Both players chatting about the board state. I think Ray is beginning to see where the scoring path is headed. Players have a little over 50 minutes left in the round. So we'll see how things pan out. We are at the top of 3. But there are a lot of units missing. Things are going to move along a little more quickly as we go.
No, he was near the bottom and Ross was near the top. That's how it normally is.
Taking a look at the pairing so far, it looks like only one other result has been reported since at one of the X1 tables. Hopefully we'll see some more results coming in from some of the games that I had mentioned prior as well. Ray going for magical dominance here at the Chaos Sorcerer Lord. Of course, Oscar does have wizards in range, but see how it goes. I mean, Arkin, being the best caster, is on the far side of the table, so that is a slight silver lining here. Ray also not having the Andorian Acolytes battalion, so he won't have extensive assistance from Primal Dice. Oscar has rolled a big 6 to bring a Morgas back. I played Oscar just last week in a casual game, and he did the exact same thing. This man returns Morgas like nobody's business. Absolutely huge. He's going to be able to apply the full force of that Morgas unit into the Chosen, and he gets the chance here that a Mortis Guard is tying up the Chosen right now. Ryan pointing out, yeah, you might as well rally. Absolutely. I mean, you've got 1,000,001 command points to spare. Get it while it's hot. Use them. Use them or you lose them. Might as well go for the rallies. Oscar's trying to unbind the spell. He rolls a 14, outmatching Ray's 13 to cast with the assistance of the Primals. So that is going to be a dropped battle tactic for Ray. Definitely getting a little tight on score now. The objective's looking a little rocky. Ray had burned some aggressively in the early game.
Nothing had died.
I believe it was Blizzard Ryan, but I'll confirm once the hero phase is complete. Ray dropping the tactic now, following through with just whatever cast he can squeeze out. Oscar failing to unbind there. We'll find out what that is in a moment. See what pans out here, right? This now that we're getting through the hero phase here, it should be a short remainder of the turn. Most of Ray's units locked up in combat. We'll likely see the Untamed Beast move on to the center right objective, allowing Ray to pick up a point here, but it's going to give Oscar an opportunity here on the following turn to pull away in terms of score and begin to place a gap in between them. And I mean, this is really like some of the value that we were talking about early on with the OCR Bone Reaper's army, is that he can sit here, kind of plod along through the game. The added tankiness, the combat buffs, the efficiency in combat once you really like crank those war scrolls. Ray has moved the Untamed Beast actually to the top right objective, which he has already melted. I wonder if he's trying to keep them alive. Probably may have been able to get a similar charge distance off Arkin post move if he had tagged the objective anyway, but
His story that he got even though yours is clearly better, I got 4 points.
I think we're going to have to see how these combats go. I mean, this is top, so it's not like Ray's on a crowd here. He's moved along into combat. He may be accepting the board state as is, but I I think he has siphoned off the center left objective completely. I'll confirm that with the players in a minute, but even if he hadn't toe tagging that objective, would have gave him a chance for 2, if not more, which is an extra point. So definitely curious on that choice. You see the Chosen piling in as much as they can, likely to pick up this remaining Immortus Guard.
I mean, Mando and Grogu just look very nice.
I'm gonna maybe tomorrow.
You see Oscar already laying out the buckets of dice that he may be rolling. Ray pulling things together for the Chosen. Going to take a big crack into the single Immortus Guard.
I mean, if I won that, I could frame it. This is for trivia. Yeah. That's for trivia.
Oscar warding a mortal, it appears. Ray rolling the wounds now.
I can't, like, all right.
Oh my goodness. The Immortus Guard has shrugged off the bulk of the attacks and only taken 2 damage. Hanging on, continuing to tie up the Chosen, who I believe have already used their second activation.
If I can't have it, then nobody.
Very big. Really putting Ray in a bit of a pickle here.
It's the Highlander. They're going to be one. Next time I'll sit.
Oscar here, pressing his advantage into the Chaos Warriors here, so we'll see how things pan out. Definitely looking like he's got the edge in this combat and poised to take additional advantage by charging in with those Morgas on the following turn here, and on the back end of the turn, so he has a potential double turn within his grasp as well. So we'll have to see how things go, but this might be a good moment for Oscar to press his advantage and take what he can off the board. That being said, while these 2 players are rolling through the combat, I do just want to talk again a little bit more about the event that we have here going this weekend. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the DaBoyz GT system, it is a sort of conglomerate look at your sportsmanship score, your tournament score, and your hobby score, which combines into a best overall category that is used to measure the best performing player between all of those 3. In addition to that, there are awards for best general, best paint, best sportsmanship, awards for best in bracket at every level of performance, 4-1, so on and so forth. So a lot of prize on the line here, and of course the added drama of crowning a new Golden Sprue champion. Both of these players currently undefeated in the going into the second round, so we'll see how things pan out from here. Oscar in a very strong position on board and having a strong command of the objectives as well. This is Ray's attacks from the Chaos Warriors going into the Immortus Guard now, so we're going to see what happens here.
The trains ran on time. What are you guys complaining about? Less on solo.
I think he may have just shrugged all of those. which is pretty good. Are you really in combat if no damage is taken? Very impressive set of rolls there.
And then if you're like, if you're in protection, yeah, straight up, just whatever minis are fought in the path, you're just moving up that one.
And they're looking at scoring now. It appears things have been rolled through. Just confirming the score with the players now. Ray scoring a single point there, dropping the battle tactic on that turn, confirming that he did not yet siphon the left center objective, but he has now siphoned it. Definitely a bit of a rocky turn, single point, unable to kill the single Amoris guard there. And of course, there was, as we discussed previously, the Untamed Beast movement in the top right objective as well. So, curious to see what Oscar has in store for this turn. I anticipate a lot of damage working its way out of those Morghast on the Chosen. On the first turn, Ryan, he actually, when he pregame moved, he stayed off the objective. He went around it, and he did not touch it. And then he moved the other unit of Untamed Beasts forward on the side. But it is now siphoned this turn, top of 3 because he controlled it on turn 2. So. Both players agreed that he didn't control it round 1. I thought he had put his Untamed Beast on it, but they said that his units were off of it completely. I know he had most of his stuff on the home objective at the very least, but without looking back, I couldn't tell you offhand. Both players chatting about the board state now.
Sir, I got a Legion. There's no further cases in Legion.
I did get confirmation that Ray did actually control that objective turn 1, so I am just going to correct the players really quickly before they proceed. Oscar's still debating his battle tactic anyway. Adding insult to injury here, we've issued a correction on the table. Ray did siphon the left center objective. We have reviewed the tapes. this stage, Ray did score a 0-point turn on the previous turn, so definitely looking very difficult. Glad to see those Chaos Chosen really cannot get away from this Immortus Guard. He is absolutely just hugging them. He is so in love, he will not let go. Not doing much of the way in damage back either, but I don't think he really needs to, given that the objective is not being scored upon. Half the board siphon, and Ray is stuck in the area without the objectives he can control. Now, if I recall correctly, I believe Oscar has siphoned the bottom right objective and the bottom. No, I think that's the only one, because he didn't touch either of the center objectives really. He did toe tag it, but it was taken back, and then he didn't control it, and then he grabbed the bottom left instead. Which is excellent. So he still has full access. He'll siphon the bottom left this turn, and then he'll have the bottom two siphoned. But he's in great shape. He has 4 of the objectives available to him still, which is wonderful for long-term scoring. Obviously, we'll need to grab that center right objective. It's a likely position for Arkin this turn, moving him back forward, pushing him back into the fray. Oscar has returned a Immortus Guard to that unit that Ray has been stuck on here. Combining that with the Morghast that returned to the fray, things are looking a little ugly. Tactic is unclear. Players were discussing something, so I am going to give them a moment to pull that information together. This is actually the first turn that Oscar has not announced the tactic to me, so he is deep in thought.
How are we doing? Who's killing? Oh wow, it's tie game.
Well, it's Ray just scored a 0-point turn, so yes, but it's bottom of 3.
What if
for Oscar
scores 0?
He's not going to score 0. He has this. Ray has siphoned these 3 objectives, so he can't score on any of these from here on out. He's stuck here. He can control these, but he has to get out of here.
This sounds like a tall order.
It is a tall order.
Well, for the sake of surprise and suspense, I believe he can do it.
I hope he does, because it'll lead to a very interesting board state. He's been stuck. He's chosen on this Immortus Guard. Just 8.
Maybe they're not actually chosen. Maybe they're
not chosen. They were chosen to fail.
They were abandoned.
Yeah. Definitely a precarious spot to be in. But it looks like players have moved on from their previous discussions. I am just going to take a moment to confirm the battle tactic here. Oscar calling bait and trap here, which of course is a pretty easy tactic, all things considered. Oscar can also still apply pressure to his opponent by retreating and charging using the OBR command, which feels really good. Of course, different units will need to retreat and charge, but with Catacross and the Morghast right there, this is super doable. The horses are right there as well. There is a lot of options here for Oscar to succeed. Not to mention, he does have the foot heroes chilling in central board, although he would not like to charge with them. If he absolutely must for a battle tactic, I'm certain he would consider it. So, seems like a very, very doable battle tactic here in the bottom of 3.
You feel this -1 to hit with the shrine or whatever it's called. What is it called? The big temple thing.
I honestly don't even remember the name of it. It's got some crazy OBR name.
We can call it the
it's probably like
we'll call it the Bone Monument.
It's the Nexus Superplexus.
The Nexus.
I don't know.
Superplexus.
It's something stupid. I'm gonna find. I can never remember the name of it.
Madigan would know, but she's not here all of a sudden.
What's up?
What's the bone monument called?
Bone Tide Nexus.
The
Bone Tide Nexus.
There
The
we
Bone
go.
Tide Nexus Superplexus. Oscar does not hail from Texas.
It does not want to give -1 this turn.
No, it does not.
Have the list.
Jomer's saying, any chance you have the list? Yes, I do. So the lists are available on the Best Coast Pairings app. I don't have like
I
a
can
post
connect it.
of
You
it.
can open this.
Oh, we have the technology.
Or just paste it in chat.
I guess I could just paste it in chat. It's going to look a little ugly, so bear with me.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Just open a web browser. It's fine.
open web browser. Give us one moment, Joe, and
There
we'll
it
get
is.
those for it. Wow.
It's going to be posted under me. Oh, that's a lot of data.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to let me send it, Josh.
All right. Yeah, you might have to look online. Sorry.
Yeah, Josh does not actually have the technology. He
I
has
don't.
falsely led us
I
in the
do.
direction.
Technology failed us.
That being said, I'll give a quick rundown. Oscar is playing the OCR Bone Reapers Mortis Praetorian subfaction. He is running Arkin the Black with Drain Vitality as the Chosen. So I believe he's a Lore Master, so I think the Chosen spell is more of a formality than anything. Catacross, he is running a Mortison Bone Shaper, who is the General with the Aura of Sterility, who has Empowered Naderite Weapons as his Chosen spell, and an Ossifector carrying Merciless Blizzard and the Gothazar Cartouche to give +1 to wound in melee for units that are wholly within 9 inches of that hero. For Battle Line, he's running a single unit of Cabalos Death Riders alongside a unit of Morghast Archai and 2 MSU units of Immortus Guard. And of course the Bone Tide Nexus to lay on some debuffs, which we have seen it do some work this game, applying the neg3 to charge debuff to the Chosen early. They did just barely make their charge, but Oscar definitely placing it aggressively since Ray does not have a model to remove it with, and trying to throw those debuffs out. On the other hand, we have Ray, who is playing the Slaves of Darkness Kabbalah subfaction, giving all of his casters an extra spell. Non-casters also gaining a spell, and also having access to passing his 3d6 cast heroic action to other heroes within 3 inches of the unit that does that heroic action. But for leaders, we have the pair of Chaos Sorcerer Lords, one with Merciless Blizzard, Warp Reality, and Demonic Speed, carrying the Mark of Tzeentch, and a Mark of Chaos Slanesh Chaos Sorcerer Lord carrying Binding Damnation and Hoarfrost. For Ray's General, he has a Chaos Lord with the Idolator Lord command trait, which is making his Cultist units, that is both of his Untamed Beasts there, benefit from the Nurgle Mark. And then he also can pray. He's taken the Heal Prayer for some extra sticky units, which is great, of course, with some of his tankier units. High save, solid wound characteristic. He's carrying Chaotic Conduit. And then he has 2 units of Untamed Beast for the pregame move, Corvus Cabal for the Deep Strike, 1 unit of those. And then 20 Chaos Warriors with the Nurgle Banner and Mark. And then there were at one point 6 Varangard carrying the Mark of Khorne for +1 attacks on the charge, and 10 Chaos Chosen with the Mark of Slanesh, so with the command ability they can run and charge. That being said, obviously there's far fewer models on the board than I just announced. This has been a pretty fighty game with Ray coming in early with the Varangard and Oscar's Morghast making the counter charge directly into that unit, taking fight first on a 9 to charge, flying over Oscar's screens, and piecing up a couple of the Varangard, backed up by Arkin and the Immortus. So definitely removed a key hammer, and the Chosen unfortunately have been stuck on the 1 unit of Immortus Guard for some time. They were saving on 2s, incredibly difficult for the Chosen to remove. We see now that Oscar has gone through with all of his retreating and is beginning to make some charges. He has made a charge with Arkin in the upper right corner there into the Untamed Beast that Ray moved back to try to get them as far away from him as possible. We see an 11 to charge come in now. Oscar is schmoving Catacross. Breakneck pace. And he's getting up close and personal with that hero. Now, Oscar, for his battle tactic, has called The charge 2, retreat 2 battle tactic this turn. He has fulfilled the retreating condition, and he has succeeded on his battle tactic as well. So, it's looking like, based on the current objectives that he is in possession of, that he will be scoring a 5-point turn. Ray has siphoned all of the objectives that he is standing on currently. So, we're going to see Oscar pull ahead in the bottom of 3 here, potentially to 15, unless something happens.
Something.
Yes, something. If Arkin is slain by untamed beasts, I will go to the bar. I will buy another Sex on the Beach for myself, and I will down it in about 15 seconds.
I'll have a Sex on the Beach too.
Well, now you're talking.
Yeah, double Sex on the Beach. So does anyone strike first here, or is it just the regular?
I don't
Morghast?
believe-
Morghast. Ray just said Morghast.
He needs to get an 8 up. I don't know if he rolled high enough for it. I'll confirm with the players. The Morghast did hit an 8 on the charge, so they will be fighting first, giving Oscar a little bit of activation control here.
Well, it's 7 mortals on the charge.
Big
Lord.
mortals on the charge from the horses as well. Oscar is piecing apart Ray's remaining possessions here in absolutely brutal fashion. Definitely a difficult position to be in from the Slaves to Darkness perspective.
Yeah, it's that store in Newington that Sean and Zach said they'll never go back to again. I'm running them every day. I got 14 and I got 20 last.
Amazing the ability of the Ossiarch Bone Reaper's army as well to do some cycle charging, pull units out, retreat and charge, incredibly powerful as well. You can pull out, recommit a unit. But I mean, in this case, Oscar being able to pull back that unit of 3 Immortus guard that so bravely tanked the Chosen for 2 turns is just incredibly good. They're going to sit back, they're going to heal. He's going to bring that 3rd model back, and he's going to be in good shape, I think, to clean up a lot of these remaining units. But nevertheless, still 2 turns of Age of Sigmar to play, and stranger
Age
things
of
have
Sigmar,
happened.
you have a half hour left. Half hour.
Looks like Oscar is going into the Chosen now. I believe that was with the Morghast. Of course, the Morghast stopping any commands within 3 inches. So, piecing up some of those
Star Wars
Chosen.
Legion, as your rounds come to an end, don't forget to have your army paint judged if you haven't been up to the paint judging booth yet. Thank you.
Oscar going with the Immortus, maybe, into the Chaos Knights. Actually, maybe this is either Catacross or Arkin. He appeared to gesture off table to Catacross or the Immortus guard. He pointed in that direction. Yeah, this is definitely Catacross. Yeah. He's starting with either the Shield Immortus or Indicat with 4 attacks each, since Catacross is on bottom bracket. This is an incredible, powerful feature of Catacross with his Do Nothing, This One Is Mine ability. This is allowing him to fight as if he is at bottom bracket if he's within 3 inches of enemy hero. So the big charge that Oscar laid down earlier is incredibly important here, giving Catacross a lot of extra power. Catacross, one of the unique models whose damage potential improves as his bracket gets lower. He gains attacks on those 2 weapons and loses attacks on his weaker profile. You want to make a special guest appearance? Come on in.
He's like, I want to be so
Yeah. Is Sean still in the chat?
Sean has been in the chat. Sean, we have a special guest especially for you.
This way. Hi. What's the game state?
We're in a interesting position here, I think, for Ray. There were at one point 6 Varangard that charged into the Immortus at the bottom of the table, and some more gas flew over them, and they pieced them up. So these chosen here in the mid board were stuck on 1 unit of 3 Immortus Guard for like 3 turns, or 2 turns. One of them just took it to the face. He had 2 up saves, and then he's retreated, brought a model back. They're there still.
Okay.
So definitely looking good for Oscar. Ray is siphoned. Yeah, Oscar siphoned, or rather Ray siphoned these top 3. Oscar has only siphoned this objective. He's going to siphon this one this turn. So scoring-wise seems to favor Oscar, but still 2 turns to go here. Stranger things have happened.
That's true.
Ray, unfortunately, last turn scored 0 because he had siphoned this objective turn 1.
He raided up.
Yeah, and then the other thing being that he went for magical dominance, and then Oscar just rolled 1 above. He had a 13 to cast, and then Oscar was like, here's a 14.
You should never pick magical dominance if they have any unbind.
Yep. So I think he felt safer about it because Arkin had launched himself into the bottom right corner to deal with the Corvus Cabal. And then he was like, oh, no +2 to unbind here. It's open season. Rolled it, threw his primals at it, and it just did not pan out moments later, unfortunately.
That sucks.
So we'll see how things go, though. They are rolling through the combat phase here with relative haste.
Are they both 1-0?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, so whoever comes out of this will be 2 also. How did your game go?
It was good, I won.
Good.
I'm 2-0 right now.
It looked like it was a bloodbath. I came over and you had like 6 models on the table. I was like, well, she's going to roll 4 ups and bring them back. They're going to be here again.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's 30 bounders, but it's really 45 bounders.
That's true. And also, we had a big unit of the Chaos dudes on the horses.
Yeah,
not the Varangard.
the 10-man, the Chaos Knights.
The
Yeah.
Chaos Knights, and then he had 6 and 6 Varangard, and he sent all 3, and then they hit my screens, which was Fanatics and 2 units of Snufflers, and he took top. He had choice, he took top.
Oh, so you got to double him back and piece it apart.
I didn't even get the double, but I got to kill his 10, the mounted guys.
Yeah.
And then the Varangard I kept in combat with like 1 Snuffler, so they couldn't do much.
Yeah.
And then I just like went, took objectives, got battle tactics.
I mean, peeling the 10 Chaos Knights is a hefty bit of damage, too, because they're sticky.
Yeah. But I was very happy that I moved everything closer to me.
Ryan pointing out that Ray's tactic choices on that turn were difficult. Definitely true, because he had many units tied in combat. Looks like we're proceeding through combat here. Ray has resolved the Chaos Knights, and he's lifted one of the Immortus Guard. The Chaos Knights or Chaos Warriors rather, doing more work than the Chosen did over 2 turns. Not quite true. They did peel away the other Immortus, but not the entire unit.
Look at that beautiful bearer dice tray.
I know. Oscar was very proud to say, like, can you see my dice tray? At the start of the game, let me know. Make sure it was in full view of the camera.
But yeah, it's a good ad for the bearer.
He wanted to make sure we could see the carnage in the tray. The best was when Ray with the Varangard had picked away one of the archive on the bottom right when he first went in. And then the following turn, Oscar was just like, rally, 6. It's back.
We have 10 viewers.
Yeah, we've had
That's 2 more than before.
we've had a substantial audience. We've been doing pretty good. And pretty active chat as well.
Yeah, who's Joe Murphy?
I'm not certain, but he wanted to know the list, so we gave him a rundown of both as well.
Okay.
The Little Mo Bump.
It helps to have a cheer section.
Instead of Mo Bamba, Mo Bumpa.
Oh.
No, that's not the joke. He was saying like you being on stream bumped the viewership.
Oh, that's right.
That's why we
Yeah.
went up by 2.
Let's see, we were at 8 by 25%.
All right.
Marcella, longtime Warhammer player, incredibly capable of math.
So good at math. What round are we in? 2?
We are at the bottom of 3.
3. Oh, okay. How much time do we have left in this round?
Technically about 17 minutes, but they reset the table for us to swap out the mats and everything. So if they take an extra couple, like 5-10 minutes, not a big deal as well. So really like 20 minutes or so.
Okay, there's still a lot of stuff on the table.
Yeah, everything's just kind of stuck.
Yeah.
But it's really just the scoring is where we're at. We'll see how things go. After Sean said Little Mo Bump, we have gone down in viewers. Sean Allen has tanked the stream single-handedly.
It's
Absolutely
his fault.
disgraceful activity in the chat. Rolling through some additional combats. Oscar appears to be shrugging off just about everything, although it makes a whole lot of sense in the combat with Arkin in that upper right corner. Untamed Beast, not exactly known for their combat profile, but dealing a little bit of chip damage, which of course Arkin is going to heal right off with the Hunger. Presuming he didn't activate already, we may have missed that earlier on. Either way, it's not like he's going down anytime soon. If you learn anything from playing against OBR, my mustache is being rubbed from off stream.
Your wife let you grow a mustache.
I don't know that she let me grow a mustache. I think it just kind of happened.
It happened.
It kind of just like,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny. This is the third person that's asked about the mustache, but I've had a mustache for like,
A while now.
yeah, like 2 years. Nobody said nothing. I think it's funny.
But you had the rest of the beard, too.
I did have the dad goatee at one point. Like I
Yeah.
had the whole thing, but when you play Warhammer, it's important to have a mustache. That way you can like tug and pull at it during the game while you're thinking.
All right, Zach, you're up.
Oh boy.
Oh, we have Zach jumping in to the commentary
My hot
booth.
takes.
How'd your round go?
I won.
You played against Seraphon, right?
Yeah.
Nice, nice. Comfortable victory? How'd it feel? Good.
It was like 27-12.
Nice, solid margin.
Everything you said happened.
Yep. So worked out with the Wargog then.
Yeah, 6 chargers or whatever
The
little baby
Agrodons?
Agrodon things couldn't kill 10 gut rippers.
That, yeah. Hitting on 4s.
And -1 to all profiles.
Yep. Sean Allen shouting you out as best sportsman.
Yeah, let's hope I get 2 years running.
Zach, best sportsman at the DaBoyz GT this past November.
Oh no. No.
Wasn't it?
No.
Wasn't it? Which one
No,
was it?
I got 4th from last.
4th from last in sportsmanship at the last DaBoyz GT. He was
Yeah, it was
almost the worst
Golden
sportsman.
Sprue I
It
got
was
first.
Golden Sprue last year. 1 year ago,
I think I was 3rd from last actually.
it was wishful thinking on my part, thinking it was DaBoyz. Joe Murphy says your wife has let you. You may not have spoken about it, but she has silently let you. I know from experience. That is an apt observation, Joe, and probably 100% correct. I don't know if she's watching currently, but if she is, I'm sure she's nodding her head at home.
So how's the gameplay coming? Fill us in.
It's coming. I think we're closing in on a finish here, scoring-wise, but I think they're just resolving the last few combats. I am going to take a second to stay away, or step away rather. Not stay away. I'm not going to stay away from the game. I should probably stay here. To just give us a quick table update and then update the scoreboard for us here. Looks like they may have moved on from where we were at previously in the midst of the discussion.
I do not believe we are currently at round 0, no.
You know, that's a good point, Zach. I probably should have ticked up the battle round. I think we are officially in round 4.
I sure hope so, since we have less than half an hour to go.
We're going to find out. Zach is going to carry the stream single-handedly while I step away and get a table update.
Oh boy.
Who is letting this guy on stream? He says words.
Yeah, I know. Who would trust me in front of people?
You look down on things not getting painted under your crush it.
Oh, what's up? I don't think.
Josh,
Oh, people
we're
want
gonna paint stuff under your wall crush it.
people wanting to paint things.
Yeah, on the underside of its base. You're gonna get love letters.
All right.
Yeah.
With that, Ray has seen the writing on the wall, and he has begun to talk through the game with his opponent. They're determining any final battle tactic opportunities for him, rolling through a few key exchanges, but it appears that Oscar is poised to take away this game, so once they've resolved and submitted their final score, we will try to pull Oscar in here for a post-game interview, see how he's feeling. Definitely a solid game, a very slow-rolling set of combats here. They've just been stuck on each other for turns.
Happy Sigmar.
Yeah, a lot of love being shared between that unit of 3 Immortus Guard and the Chaos Chosen. Very much enjoying spending time together.
Very surprised the Chosen haven't been able to get through the Immortus Guard.
We have an appearance from some family in the chat, shouting out myself, the commentator, for doing a great job. Big love to everyone back home.
That's why everyone is here.
You flatter me. He's trying to get extra best sportsmanship points, even though I can't vote. Looks like they are just continuing to roll through the last couple exchanges here. We'll see how things pan out in terms of final score. Definitely a few key points of this game. I think obviously the most integral being that initial charge off the Varangard, coming in on the right side of Oscar's forces, and those Morghast getting in and piecing up a handful of models. Not the result Ray was looking for from that charge, and I mean, for the Chosen, getting through all this OBR stuff is a tall task. Neg 1 Rend into multiple bonuses to save, Oscar saving on 2-ups for consecutive turns. Super, super difficult. And not the splash of 6s for mortals that Ray was looking for during those turns. So while these two are finishing up, wrapping up their score, let's take a peek at some of the results from the other games that have occurred this round. Ross McCune has advanced 2-0 with OCR Bone Reapers after beating Giants this round.
Yeah, Giants.
And then Marcella was on earlier. She announced that she won her game against Slaves of Darkness. Sean O'Shaughnessy, playing Bigwa, has turned around his misfortune with the Boomthirster and has come away with a substantial win over Korn. So big shout out to Sean there. That table was looking super difficult for him early on, but he has pulled a full 180.
Hello, Star Wars Legion player.
Moving on from there, Scott Dornbush, playing Ideneth Deepkin in the X1 bracket, has overcome Mike Mullis's Ogres. Paul Conti, who lost last round to Hunter Armstrong's Monster Truck list, overcame Jeremy Williams Seraphon this round with his Magakin of Nurgle. Dan Riker, who was on stream last round, overcame Jason's Fire Slayers. Still a few other odds and ends in motion. Zach, as he mentioned before, beat Seraphon. Jonathan Tooley beat Joe Markham's Slave to Darkness. I believe Jonathan Tooley on Soulblight Gravelords. I am mistaken. He is playing Ironjaw's to Chappas, two very different armies. And then, of course, James Kent, who was also on stream last round, playing against the Gloomspite Gits with Trolls, and It looks like they are still rolling on. Yep.
Oh, we got a handshake.
We got a handshake, so we will take a moment here. I'm going to chat with the players, get our final score. Final score. What am I talking about? Final score. And then we'll pull Oscar in for a post-game interview here and see how he's feeling after a pretty substantial win over the Slaves of Darkness here. All right, both players have wrapped up their turns and worked out that at this stage, Ray is not able to complete an additional battle tactic, and they don't believe he is going to be able to get away from these objectives. So at this stage, the final score has been called as 28-10 in Oscar's favor. So Oscar coming away with a pretty substantial win. Definitely one to be happy about. I've spoken to Oscar already. Seems like he's feeling pretty good. He's going to join us in a few minutes after they pick up a little bit for a post-game, which will be exciting to hear his perspective on the game and some key moments. I'm sure he's got a lot to say about those Archai, and Arkin as well, obviously venturing off into the far corner of the table to whoop up on as many cultists as possible.
AoS, you got 5 minutes.
Definitely well played on both fronts, much to the best of their abilities. That Vanguard charge in the beginning, definitely super difficult on Ray's side. Oscar suppressing a lot of that early game magic, forcing Ray into a difficult spot and capitalizing very quickly on the amount of damage that he was able to put out. I think perhaps one underrated aspect of this game is just really the deployment. I think Oscar did a great job deploying off objectives, working his way out of center board. In the grand scheme of things, he really didn't move a great deal from that starting position. He found that spot on the table where he wanted to sit, and he capitalized on it for as long as humanly possible. So, excellent play to Oscar there. They really laid everything out with the full intention of using those Archai to their maximum ability there, keeping the Vanguard when they came in off of the heels of his support pieces behind them, or behind the Immortus guards. So both players in super high spirits post-game as well, talking about the game, the rest of the event. I may have heard a splash of discussion about what they're doing for dinner. Hopefully they haven't worked anything out, because I think Oscar and I are supposed to eat together, and he may have just abandoned me, so that's very unfortunate. I joke, but hopefully Oscar will be in just a few more moments here to join us. Unfortunately, Sean, it will not be Applebee's. I can't say that I am in a position to trust Applebee's any longer after my local Applebee's has closed. It failed me when I needed it most, which is super unfortunate. So I deem Applebee's officially canceled. Not as canceled as Chili's, but we'll find out. We have Jared, our paint judge, making a surprise appearance in the background. How's the paint judging coming?
Pretty good. I'm hoping we're over half people judged.
Excellent. This early on, too.
Need to start getting people to come over.
Nice.
We'll see.
Good stuff. Jared.
Already 5 at max score.
Wow. And that's between both sides?
Just for Sigmar.
Gotcha. Jared reporting that over half of the players have already reported for paint judging this early on, which is excellent. I think in the past people have had to chase them down. So great, people are running up, getting their stuff judged. 5 players already at a maximum hobby score for the event so far, which is wonderful to hear. Definitely some great displays of hobby in the tournament hall here. Some well-converted armies. Sean said, I'm going to keep saying it until it happens. He is trying to manifest Applebee's single-handedly in the chat. Unfortunately, I do not think Applebee's is happening. Like I said, Applebee's is canceled. Oscar, incredibly kind, doing my job for me and even cleaning up the objective markers. Should be with us in just a moment, just stepping away to use the restroom. Ray taunting me from afar. He's like, you only want to talk to... Ray, do you want to hop in here? Get in here. We got a minute.
Ray scored 13. He got his grand strat. It was not 10, it was 13.
Oh, he scored 13 and did pick up grand strat? That's fine, I'll fix it.
28-13.
Players realizing they have goofed, and Ray did score his grand strat, meaning he scored 13 points instead of 28. Not affecting the final result in any substantial way, but worth noting just for bookkeeping's sake. Oscar stepped away. Ray's going to step into the booth here in just a moment. Ray's grand strat was spellcasting Savant.
My turn to get ragged on. Alright, let's see.
Not totally sure which of the wizards was remaining alive for that. But Ray, how are you feeling post-game?
Honestly, still having fun, bro.
Good, that's important.
Oscar, this was the first time Oscar and I really got to play against each other. When I first met him, I kind of gave him some insight on Slave to Darkness a long time ago. And for him to see it kind of pan out within the game, it worked out beautiful. I told him, like for Cat and Arkin, I've seen a lot of this within the last few months, and to run Cat and Arkin, I personally see that you have to have the right mindset and to be the right pilot to do it, and he did phenomenal.
It's two bowling balls. It's two big models. They cost a fair few points. You don't get a lot of units that way.
Yeah. I learned in the beginning. I realized in the beginning I made a bad mistake, and I shouldn't have hit that hard. I should have at least had the Chosen going in with them at the same. The charge roll there with the Chosen was kind of the unfortunate part. I was trying to go for the bigger one, and I rolled into the 6. Yep, that's how this is gonna be going. My thought process was if I can get at least a couple easy battle tactics in the beginning and try to kind of keep the center board, I try to achieve that goal. But once I saw the Vanguard go down, once he countercharged more gas in there, I knew the Vanguard were going to get hurt. I knew they were either going to lose 2 or they were going to lose fucking 4.
Yeah, that was a big moment. We definitely saw, like, after those Archive came in and they just started piecing apart the Vanguard, like, definitely a big loss of output for you, and obviously a source of rend higher than 1, which is super difficult when he's on 2 ups flat with all the defensive buffs.
The crazy part is that this is my 4th game. This is my 4th game with this list, so I'm still kind of pick and choose, like trying to see exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
Oscar, I kind of got some insight, and I kind of was venting a little bit with him about this list. So he kind of had already a little uphill view on what the list did. But overall, I enjoyed the game. I thought, like, there's a couple players in our group that I play against with OBR, and like I'll either go against another OBR player and win, and then there's literally 3. And Oscar being one of those 3 now is kind of one of the.
Yeah, definitely a high representation army, a fair few in the tournament, but well played to the both of you. Definitely best of luck in your next round. We appreciate you joining us, and perhaps we'll see you back on stream at some point too. There is a pair up from X1.
Pass me the mic.
Pass you the mic.
Oh no, it's all the way over there.
Anytime, bro, man. I enjoy doing the stream. I kind of use this stuff as practice for myself to learn from my mistakes. Even when I was playing Nerdle, even when they started doing streams with Nerdle, I learned from my places when I was playing Nerdle back in the day.
Yeah. Well, definitely well done. Thank you for joining us as well. We're going to get Oscar in here in a minute as well to chat about the game.
Don't forget to rag on him a little bit.
I'll be sure to.
It is your Sigmar carrying you up. Please remember that in this battle plan, there's no 9-inch weight deployment restriction. You can deploy right into combat.
Our TO giving announcements for the next round's battle plan. But Oscar, how are you feeling?
What's up?
How are you feeling post game?
I'm pretty exhausted to say the least, but I'm going through it.
Don't say that yet. You got one more round to play.
I know. We're using all brain cells for the next round.
Well, that's good. How do you feel about that matchup, and how did you feel going in versus how it went?
It's Marcella.
Sweet. So I like to pride myself on having a proficiency at least at top level with all the Age of Sigmar armies, so that way there's little information that I don't know.
Yeah.
And for me, I have a local friend who plays Warriors of Chaos. So for me, lastly, I helped Ray with his list. I very much knew exactly what he wanted to do and where he wanted to go.
Yeah.
And it was a matter of baiting my opponent into making wrong moves. And as a result, I set myself up in a big old bowling ball.
Yep.
He charged me on my right flank. I left my Morgas in reserve to, in a sense, fly out over, and it was allowed me, I didn't get punished too hard with doing a bunch of damage to the Vanguard to cut down on their amount of attacks and DPS that's going into me. And from there, it was just a matter of how well do I roll and do I save.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I lived with one wound.
Yeah.
Which was definitely meaningful, definitely noteworthy, as those Morgas, as you saw going through the middle of the game, the Immortals are great, they're reliable.
Yeah.
They are a do-it-all unit. They don't necessarily specialize in an offensive teeth. And having those Morgas as an extra hammer to just surround and envelop definitely helped in regards to keeping Ray constrained.
Yeah.
And from there, just keeping Ray constrained with where he was pinning, and then me going outwards to deal with the rest of the ways for him to score primary was on my mind. And I just went forward to clinch it. Keep in his spot, made a nice long bob charge for a Catacrow, so that way he was able to activate up bottom bracket. And although the Mark of Nurgle and their Encircle Banner really makes Chaos Warriors one of the most durable units in the game, slowly but surely you just chip away and chip away and chip away, and you'll do it.
What was that?
Anyways, Ray's a friend of mine, love the guy, very genuine human being. It was an honor to play him.
Love to hear it. Ray is blushing on the opposite side of the camera right at this moment. He's incredibly happy to hear that, but great show from both of you. Well played. You went in there with a plan and you executed. You got Ray stuck on a couple 2-up save units and you just smacked him over and over again.
That's right.
He just kept hitting those units. But sounds like you have a tough game ahead of you, so
that's true.
Best of luck to you playing against Marcella this round at Gloomspike Gets. So you guys played at Everwinter, if I recall correctly. So get your get back. I wish you luck, brother.
We'll see.
Good luck to both of you.
See ya.
All right, with that, I am going to end stream for a few minutes here. We are going to get things swapped out and get some new players on the table, perhaps some new terrain as well. So we will be back shortly. So if you are locked into the Masterpiece Miniatures YouTube channel currently, stay tuned. We'll be back for more shortly. If you haven't already, please like, comment, subscribe. Turn your notifications on. That way, each time we go live with an additional round, that way, you receive a notification. You can jump right in, enjoy all of the action. But we will be back shortly with another